Welcome back to Women in Real Estate. I'm here today with one of my favorite people on the planet and also one of my favorite Southwest Florida real estate agents, extremely successful. And fun fact for you, used to be my neighbor and has just crushed it in the last few years in real estate and is a mom, a wife, runs a business. Her husband owns dealerships. So they have a lot going on and a lot on their plate. And also Brooke Denson runs many charity organizations as well. So I thought there's no better person to talk to you all about time management and real estate and building a business with all the other things that women have going on than Brooke Denson. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in the real estate business.
Well, I was in finance for 15 years, and timing was perfect when I started because about 7 years ago is when I got my real estate license, and I retired from finance because the hours were terrible.
Yeah,
I was working
great.
probably 60 hours a week, 6 days a week, and it was hard, especially having kids, and so I knew my kids needed me more at home, and I needed to be a wife, so I ended up leaving that and taking up real estate just as fun. Because I can do it on my time. I can travel with the kids when we needed to, and it just worked out perfect. So I actually just was doing it for fun on the side, but then it became a lot more fun than I thought it would be. It's always fun working with both the buyer and the seller because they're two totally different transactions.
Interesting.
And every single scenario in transaction is completely different, and everyone is a learning experience, and it's fun. So I got in real estate about 7 years ago, and the time management part, it never fails. When we go on vacation, I get a listing or I got a buyer.
Now, see, I'm going to stop you right there because I think that's key. Like, most people might just skip over that part, like, oh, that's funny. But there's something to being in the energy of like having fun. So you mentioned fun a lot and vacation. There's something to being in that energy and then experiencing the monetary result of that, like having the money come in to you.
Right.
So I'm a big believer that if it's not fun, it won't be sustainable for you.
Absolutely.
So can you talk about your transition from, okay, I'm switching my career from here to there, because I think there's a lot of people watching this that might be thinking about real estate and they're not sure which way to go because of the financial freedom of it, but they are scared to leave what they're doing.
Correct. It is difficult to get started, especially with the market the way it is now. I've never seen the market like this, even before I got in real estate, and a lot of people haven't seen this. So you're not spending as much time on trying to, advertise a market for a house. And now, it's just like you've got buyers as quick as you've got sellers. I mean, you don't have sellers right now. So, but I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think you can look at it both ways. Like, okay, yes, it's difficult to get into the market now, but also it's a great learning experience.
It is, and the fact that, I had job security from my last job and I had an income coming in, and the fact that, you have to put money into it for advertising and marketing yourself. You have to do that to get yourself out there. And I've always said no risk, no reward. And I've always been a risk taker, and I wasn't afraid. But again, I did it for fun. And what's that old saying, Garth Brooks, never count your chips at the table? I do the same thing. I don't look at how much I'm gonna make off of a deal. I look at what's best for my client.
Yeah,
so
totally. So as far as buyers and sellers go, would you say that you would rather be a listing agent or would you rather be a buyer's agent?
Changes.
It changes. Does it depend on the client?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously at the Higdon Group, we're big on manifestation. So how do you manifest that perfect client? Because I know you personally and many real estate agents have had to fire their clients. And then you have those people that, they'll spend 2 years, 3 years looking at the same property or different houses with you, and then they'll just go straight to someone else. And no loyalty, you lose the deal. So can you talk about that dynamic and the mindset around it?
I'd say the biggest thing with having a listing is communication. You've got to keep communicating with your seller, because if not, because they're anxious to sell their place, and if you don't communicate at least once a week with them, they start doubting. And so it's all about keeping communication. And then the biggest thing is that when you really have to emphasize that you want to net them the absolute most that they can get, and you're on their side. And I would say that, once they're happy with the whole transaction, then that's how you get referrals. And it's like that butterfly effect. So if you do the right thing for that person, and honest and integrity is probably the biggest thing. And there's a lot of agents out there, but you have to do something that's going to be different in setting you apart from everybody else.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I happen to know that you're fantastic at communication.
Oh.
So we've done a few deals with Brooke. So can you share with, maybe someone's watching this and they're a brand new agent, or they're thinking about it, or maybe they're even a little experienced, but they're not sure. They have a difficult client right now, and they're not sure how to break up that relationship.
Well, I would say the biggest thing is just, you got to bite your tongue. And I have actually unfortunately have to fire a couple clients, and it's more of a personality conflict that became the biggest issue. But all the way until the end, you just complete it. And then if they want to do more business, you politely say, I really think at this time, maybe we should, I'd love to give you a referral to my friend, my colleague or something. But always stay professional, because guess what? They're still out there talking. And
Absolutely.
So you really have to be careful, and you're the professional, and you've got to act like a professional from the start to finish. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Totally. So you mentioned marketing. What have you done to get to the level that you're at? Is it solely based on marketing? Is it your networking capabilities, all of it put together? Can you give us a few tips around that?
I would probably say a lot of people will advertise in print, and I've learned this from my husband, because he has his business, that you want some in print, but don't focus too much. Everything is all social media based.
Yeah.
And if you could get yourself out there on social media platforms, that's how people are going to hear about you. Email blasts. If you can get as many emails as you possibly can, that's free advertising right there. I'm actually working with a client right now. My husband's like, how'd you get that client? I said, well, it's an email that I sent out.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that we're always communicating all the time. Anytime a new listing comes up, we're in sync of like, oh, I just saw it, here it is. So, just staying in contact with them. But
how do you manage all of that?
Well, kind of, the crazy thing is that a lot of this happens at night. So a lot of people are working, and then they get home, and then they want to start searching for a house.
Sure.
So I'm cooking, my husband's watching TV, but I'm still working, and sometimes he gets frustrated, but he understands, and then, you got to communicate with your spouse, and it happens, you got open houses on weekends and stuff like that, so.
So your suggestion would be communicate with your spouse before you're about to go into that
Yep.
transaction
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. And always have your computer with you at all times, because you never know when you need to write up a contract or you get a listing.
That's an amazing tip.
Yes, always. I have made the mistake and forgot my computer. Actually, we went to Belize.
Oh, yes.
And I needed to
We
borrow
were in
your
Belize
computer.
together. Yeah.
I'm scrambling trying to find out who's got a computer.
Yeah.
So always bring your computer.
Great
I've
tip.
been in airports writing up contracts, because time is of the essence. And if you're not right on it, and especially with the market that it is now, when people are getting multiple offers, overpriced, offers over asking price, you've got to be ahead of the game and be on it. So, and know your market too. That's the biggest thing, is know your market, know inventory.
Speaking of our market, what are some great things about it currently that you love?
People are always concerned, are we in this bubble like we were back in 2007? And
Sure.
we're not. Back then, it was all controlled by the mortgage companies, and anybody could get a mortgage back then. Now it's all regulated and it's really controlled. But here in Florida,
Even more so, I think, post-pandemic,
Yes.
it's controlled.
Oh,
You know?
yes, huge. But we do have a lot of cash buyers down here in Southwest Florida, so we really don't deal with much finance transactions. But I would say the biggest thing about what's good about the market now is that it's hot and people they're wanting to come down to Southwest Florida. It's a hot market down here. So, and I don't think things are too overly inflated I think it's where it should be.
Yeah, I keep telling people, in '08, people were buying their fifth and sixth home with lying on about their financials just to get the house, right?
And the mortgage companies were okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great time for those of you that could afford it. But, for a lot of people, it didn't work out so well. My husband included. Hopefully he's not back there. Yeah. So we get it, but I can't see that being this type of market. But you never know. Nobody has a crystal ball.
No, and the hardest thing is, you've got your buyers that says, or sellers that say, well, more buyers right now, I'd say, they're like, well, what do you think this house will be worth in a year? I don't know. Or if they say, well, I'll wait another year. Well, we don't know if it's going up or down. We don't have that crystal ball, which is hard, so you just have to sell in the now,
So that brings up a really good point. When customers ask all kinds of different things that you can't answer, right? So if somebody says, hey, what do you think this is worth? You think this is a good price or what? How do you handle that type of question? Are you looking at the comps and saying?
Absolutely. You look at the comps. You look at why it's, if to them or you it seems like it's a little overpriced, look at why. Call the listing agent and say, how have you come up with this price to list it? And they'll also tell you, how they came up with the price. There could be a lot of upgrades in the house, or it had been remodeled and people don't realize that. Depending on which community you may be in, it may be completely different than any of the other ones that sold for maybe a little bit less. Sure. So it's okay to call the listing agent and ask a lot of questions because you need to justify it. And if it doesn't feel right for you, the worst thing to do is get your client in a bad situation, and you'll know. So you need to do all the fact finding for your buyer, and make sure that it's a good deal for them.
I love that. If you had to start over, is there anything that you would do differently, or can you give a tip to somebody who's maybe newer that doesn't really know where to go from here?
I would say probably get with the right brokerage firm that fits you and your personality, and hold your license with a firm that, like I said, is your fit, but make sure it financially works, because there's a lot of hidden fees with a lot of these different brokerage firms that you really have to be careful with. And how can they help you market yourself as well? And what kind of a team do you have? Because I'm telling you, you do need a team. You need somebody that can help you if you're not there, that can go show property. So you do need somebody that is there for you. So I would say make sure you're with the right real estate firm.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Any last words of wisdom or advice you want to give our audience?
I would probably have to say that the biggest thing is just be sincere and honest, and don't cheat or lie. I've dealt with agents that are sneaky, and it's sad, and it's you want to set an example for the future of real estate, and just be honest and have integrity. So that's what I would probably have to say.
Yeah. And I would say, as speaking to that as like a seller, don't paint over a mold spot and say no mold here, right?
Yes.
Or something like that. If even in this market, it's crazy times. But I love that.
You see it all out there.
Yep. Hope you enjoyed Women in Real Estate. I know if you love Brooke as much as I do, then you'll definitely reach out to her, and make sure to tune in to higdengroup.com/Jess to reach out to me and contact me if you have any questions whatsoever or need some marketing help. We'll see you next time.